Real TV with program Reality Check with Mustafa Hassan. This is your host Mustafa Hassan. Today I thought we would discuss a topic that has been very prevalent across history, across centuries, dating back almost 3,000 centuries or something. And the topic today would be discussing welfare states, how they're successful, how they're not, how they've gone through the change of time, change of history, change of religion, change of philosophy, where they were won and lost. And to discuss this today on our show, we have invited Ms. Zoya Javed, who has herself interest in this topic and has studied extensively. Welcome to the show, Ms. Zoya Javed.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I would like to know that how would you start the Muslim era, and if you can throw a light on the Riyasat-e-Madina, which Imran Khan wants us to be like them.
Thanks. What I would start with is Riyasat-e-Madina, the concept of the welfare state was equality for all. Justice system was for all. It was very evident in those ages that the rich would get away with the justice system, would not get the same treatment as the lower class families. So a lot of the cultures, a lot of tribes were destroyed because of that. So the concept of Riyasat al-Madina is to provide the justice system for everyone, equal opportunity for everyone, equitable distribution of wealth for everyone. And even Hazrat Umar, he gave his son a punishment of 100 lashes when he committed adultery and would not marry the woman that he committed adultery with, and his own son died in the process. That was justice, because that was for all and everyone. Hazrat Muhammad, the Prophet Hazrat Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself was brought a request one time to spare a child of a very prominent tribal leader who had stolen something. And he said, even if my daughter, Fatima, had done the same mistake, I would have chopped her hand as well. Now that was justice, because it was for everyone, not just for a very few people. So that was the concept of Riyasat al-Madina, to have justice and welfare being for the whole society, not for just a select few.
Okay, we would like to know which concepts of Muslim welfare state it's still being used by Western countries, especially Scandinavian countries.
I would say, thanks for the question, that's a good one. I would say Sweden is very high of the list. Okay. And the reason I say that, they provide full child support till the child is from the concept of birth till the child is 16 years old. Mm-hmm. They have free healthcare for everyone. Right. They have free social security benefits for everyone. 30% of the Swedish people work in the public industry, and they have adopted laws that the Muslims have lost over the years as part of their culture. They are the true welfare state at this point, and you will be surprised to hear that out of some of the Nordic countries and Scandinavian countries, 5 of the 10 happiest cities listed in the World Index are from those countries, the happiest places to live on earth, and they are following the laws that were under Hazrat Umar and his welfare state as well.
Okay, very nice to know that. And what about the rise and fall of the golden era of Islam?
The golden era of Islam that started in the 8th century from 1752 to 1258 AD specifically, but it kind of went on further to the 14th century. They built the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, yes, by Harun al-Rashid in 1786 to 1809 when his reign lasted. And at the House of Wisdom, the one thing that the Muslims and the scholars and the kings at the time did was, the Khalifa at the time did was, they invited scholars from other cultures, from other religions, like the Jewish, the Christians, and all different cultures, even the Spanish, to translate all their knowledge into Arabic. The House of Wisdom at the point, algebra is a word that is actually Arabic.
Yes.
All the numericals that we use currently are Arabic numericals. That's what 1, 2, 3, and 4 come out of. Not just algebra, even the study of the stars. The biggest telescope at the point in the 12th century, 1100s, was installed at the House of Wisdom at that time, and we started studying the stars as well and the universe around us. That was its impact. Everyone was allowed in there. They started building universities that were teaching chemistry, a lot of physics, mathematics. Their role is insanely prominent in how we grew as a society, to a point where they had free hospitals for the rich and for the poor. They were open 24/7. No one was turned down. That was the true welfare state at that time as well. And they built a lot of libraries and universities. Unfortunately, but when the Mongols, Genghis Khan, everyone led their troops across Asia, the House of Wisdom was destroyed in 1258 AD, and with which it lost a lot of its content, but not a lot of its people, some of them as well. But we lost a lot of culture, we lost a lot of history, we lost a lot of knowledge. But to this day, it is still prevalent that Muslims did the most work in the field of mathematics, physics, chemistry, studying the human biology, and medical science.
Yes, the well-known scholars of that time are Razi, Ibn Sina, and Jabir ibn Hayyan. They are the very familiar names of that time, and they have done a great job in that era.
Absolutely. So, after that, the Mughals came into power.
Yeah.
And that was when Babur, who was actually, I don't know if this is a common knowledge or not, the first Mughal emperor Babur in 1526. When he came into power, he was the sixth descendant of Genghis Khan, direct sixth descendant of Genghis Khan. So at that point, they were still growing their empire. The Mughal era lasted from 1526 to 1857, when they finally lost to the British. However, it was their corrupt moralities, it was their party lifestyle, it was their lavish living lifestyle, not giving people justice at every corner of the region they ruled in. It was primarily based on their own lavish livings, building forts, building their historical gardens, providing a lot of culture. Don't get me wrong, they gave us a lot of culture that I am part of it as well. But they went away from the basics of the welfare state and the basis of Islam, and they just went into a spiral they could not control. They let the British conquer the subcontinent because they were buying their spices. They started the trade route, which was Britain's history across every colony they had built, including Australia, including every place in Africa, including every place in the West Indies, the South Americas. So they did the same with the Mughals, and the Mughals finally lost the battle to the British and they took over in 1857.
Yes, no succession plans, deterioration of morality, geographical expansion of empire, lack of organized army, especially navy, intellectual bankruptcy, and corrupt administration are the reasons why we have seen that downfall of Muslims.
This sounds like pretty much everything that is happening right now.
Yes, you're very right. Then, even after all these decades, why are we in this situation right now? Why Western countries are far more better than us, and why we are not getting back to our roots?
This is a very loaded question, and when I say loaded, we can discuss this for hours.
Yes.
But really, it all boils down to the justice system.
Is it because of justice system we have here? It is the reason?
Absolutely, it is actually one of the biggest reasons. Just like Prophet Muhammad in his time had, and I'm not going to exactly quote him because I do not, peace be upon him, I do not want to get it wrong, but he had mentioned to the Muslims that a lot of societies and the tribes were lost before Islam because they did not have the same laws of justice for the rich and the poor. So we have gone away from that. Where we are right now, we have different laws. People are treated differently. If you know, as a middle class family or a lower class family, that your voice is not going to be heard, why would you even go to the justice system?
Yes, really.
We went away from education. Sweden's literacy rate right now is 100%. Every person in the country is educated. Pakistan is less than 40%, which also counts people who can read Quran even without reading the translation. They can write or read a letter. That's considered literacy rate. With so much illiteracy, no focus on education, there are feudal lords who have slaves working from them. They have given them loans of interest rates they can never pay back. Their generations, and I'm saying generations, one generation is 25 years. The generations have lost their way. Guess who they're going to vote for? The feudal lord come every election season. So they are their families in this very state of Punjab that they've been ruling for decades and generations because they own most of the land and they own most of the people and they consider them such as well. When the concept of money and bribery crept into our civilization, we were lost. We were completely lost. I grew up in an era where there was a true middle class family. I don't see them at all right now. Right now, what we have is called the have-nots and the haves. Either you have it or you don't have it. There is no true middle class, and that gap is not changing at all. We have lost our morality, and I really don't see anything going anywhere. But let me ask you this. Do you see this changing? Do you see us going back to our roots?
No, we are not. And actually, we are just getting away from them. There is no sincerity toward work, no honesty, and no respect for the elders, and we are far away from it. And as our judicial system, and it is suffering a lot. The 2 million cases are in the backlog of the Pakistan.
2 million cases?
Yes, and average it will take 10 years to resolve one of them.
So just hearing that, I know that the Chief Justice recently passed a law that every case has to be closed within 3 months, but still just imagine the amount of time that would take to clear out those 2 million cases while new cases still coming in.
Yes.
It's not like they are being just being put out and say let's just not focus on them at all. So it's opening all the time, and we're trying to clear the backlog without the resources that we really have. So that is a very, very big question for us. You bring up our society is extremely frustrated.
Yes, right.
Everyone is on the verge of a breakdown, a nervous breakdown. You just stare at someone and they want to kill you. Like, what kind of society do we live in? You don't even stare, you look at them and they're like, why are you looking at me? I'm going to beat you. Like where is the politeness gone? And I'll tell you where it has gone. We are not being raised by our grandmothers, our grandfathers. Our moms are making breakfast. When I was growing up, I still remember my biggest luxury on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. My nana, my grandmothers would say, bring him halwa puri today. Because every day lunch was made from house. Now, the parents, the moms, they just send off their kids with the drivers to these bakeries, buy them a sandwich, buy them a juice box, and drop them off to school, and are completely disconnected from the kids. they're not being raised the way that we were raised, and that is a huge loss to our culture.
Yes, very right. Agreed, 100%.
So on that note, I on my honest, heartfelt prayer to our nation is, let's grow some patience. Let's please be nice to each other. Only by being nice to each other, you can spread the word of love, you can spread the word of patience, you can spread the word of being honest and just. If I do it to someone else, they do it to two other people, they do it to four other people, how hard can it be? We have to change it from ourselves. We can sit over here, Zoya, all day long and discuss this and nothing will change.
Yes.
We have to change ourselves,
First.
from ourselves, that I and never do anything you don't have to say sorry for. Everyone makes mistakes, but don't ever be shy to say sorry if you have made a mistake, and look at yourself and see why would you never do it again. So please, my dear Pakistanis, my dear listeners around the world, let's just be good human beings. It's not that hard. Let's see you in the next show.